Mic check, 1 2 1 2. I just ate a hot pocket. Now I'm gonna show you guys how to unpack variables. You know what? That doesn't really rhyme, but as I was saying, in this video, what I want to do is I want to show you guys how to take a list and unpack it into separate variables all in one line. A nice little shortcut that's definitely gonna come in handy a lot. So first, let's go ahead and make a simple list. So say that we have, I don't know, a store, or maybe we're just buying a bunch of stuff online and we want to keep track of the information of these items. So the first element we want to keep track of is when we bought it or when we sold it. Doesn't really matter. Just make any list with like 3 elements in it. Just an example. Now for the second one, I'll put the name of the item. Say we bought some bread gloves. And the third one is how much did we spend on $8.51. Now, again, this data doesn't really matter. Just make anything with 3 elements in it. And also, if you guys don't know what bread gloves are, Google them and look in Google Images. Probably the best invention ever. So, we already know that anytime we want to access any of these elements in the list, what we can do is just type the name of the list and the position. So since it starts with 0, this will print out the date. If we just run this, so this prints out the date. We can also put item 1, item 2. Now, if we ever want to actually use these later on, sometimes putting item 0, that can be kind of confusing because, you know, it's really the date. The date always comes first. Like when we're making a program where the date always comes first. So we would store that in the date, and then we store the other one in a name, item 1, yada yada, and then the third one. Okay, this has already taken up a crap line of code, and you know, I don't want to clutter up my program, so wouldn't it be cool if there is a way that we could set each list element to a variable all in one line? Well, you guys are in luck because there is indeed a way to do that. So say that we have this list right here, and we want to set each of these elements equal to a new variable name. Well, all we have to do is this. Put all of your variable names and separate them with a comma. So date, item, price. Now what this is going to do is it's called unpacking a list into variables. So it's going to set the first one equal to date, the second one equal to item. Actually, let's change that to name. And the third one equal to price. So now, later on, we can just do something like print name. And check this out. It prints out the name of it. It saves you like, well, it depends on how big your list is, but a crap line of code. Now, the only other thing I want to point out is this. Whenever you unpack a list into separate variables, you have one rule that you have to follow. Make sure that the number of variables equals the number of items in your list. So, if you have a bunch of lists and they have different amounts or they're different lengths, you can't really do this because it wouldn't be consistent, and I don't know, maybe you forgot to jot down the name of one thing. It's going to throw an error at you. So there actually is a way that you can get around this, and well, I was going to show you in the next video, but I might as well show you right now. So whenever you have a list and they're all the exact same size, then you can use that method and it's going to work perfectly. It's going to make your code real nice and clean. But what if you have lists that you want to unpack in variables that are different sizes? Well, we can't use that method, but we can use a new one using a new symbol called the star, and that's above the 8 on your keyboard. So when would we want to use this? Well, I actually saw a cool example in this book called, I think it was called Python Cookbook. So if you guys ever want to check out a cool book with, like, I don't know, it has a like bunch of cool little scripts, check that out. I think I bought it on Amazon. So anyways, whoever wrote that book, thank you for this next bit of code. So what you can do is something like this. Say that you're a teacher and you gave your students a bunch of quizzes. Now, what you decide to do is you want to drop the first and the last quiz grade and average the rest of the scores together. So maybe one class you teach has 10 quizzes, maybe the other class you teach has 5 quizzes. So you have this program you want to make, but the lists are going to be different lengths. Well, what you can do is start making a function, and we'll just name this function drop first and last, because we're going to drop the first and last grades and we're going to average pretty much all the middle ones together to give their student the final grade. So what we're going to do is we're going to pass in grades. In grades is going to be the list, but instead of just unpacking it into a set number of variables, what we can do is this. The first item in the list is going to be stored in the variable first. The middle elements in the list are going to be star middle, and the last one is going to be stored in last. Now what this expression right here says is take the first item, store it in first, take all of the items in the middle. Now it doesn't matter if the list is 10 elements long, then it's going to store the 8 ones in the middle. If the list is only 3 items long, then it's going to only store 1 grade in the middle. This little star expression right here is variable. Now, I probably shouldn't use the word variable, but I don't know. You guys know what I'm talking about. So that's exactly what it's going to do. So the middle is the entire list excluding the first and the last. So now all we have to do is calculate the average, and you already know how to calculate average. Let me just do it real quick. It's the sum of all of the items in the middle over the length. And this is pretty much going to count how many items are in that list. So now we can just do something like print average and check it out. We'll call this function twice so you can see what I'm talking about. So of course we need to pass it in some kind of list. Now for the first one, I'll just give the student some test grades. 65, didn't do too good on the first one. 76, 98, like 54, tanked on that one. And the last one, he got a 21. He must have known that they were going to drop it. So of course, what this is going to do whenever we throw it in, it's going to store 65 in first, 21 in last, and we're pretty much just going to toss those out because it's going to store all of these in middle, and the average of 76, 98, and 54 is 76. Interesting. Now, of course, like I said, it doesn't matter how many items we have. 54, 65, 99, 88, 78. If we run this, it's going to do the same thing. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is not only how we unpack a list into variables, but also how we can use the star expression to give our program a little more flexibility. So thank you guys for watching. Well, that's all I got to say. Nothing more. My bad. I'll see you next time.